Very warm welcome to Spa-Francorchamps here in the Ardennes as we get ready for the 9th race of the International GTOpen season. 70 minutes of drama ahead of us. This, the 5th of 7 stops that comprises the 2015 season. It's a very warm welcome from myself, Ben Evans, to a chilly and overcast day here at Spa-Francorchamps, but as yet the anticipated rain for this afternoon hasn't arrived. Qualifying this morning was held in atrocious conditions with very limited visibility, but has given us a thrillingly poised grid in a very close championship battle. It's the car that's currently third in the championship standings, Michele Rugolo and Passi Nathoras, which lines up on pole position. Rugolo and Nathoras twice victorious this year. Michele Rugolo will be starting the race, the wheel of the AF Course Ferrari. Alongside him on the front row is a very, very welcome newcomer to the championship. It's the second Teo Martin Motorsport McLaren, and it is shared by McLaren works driver Rob Bell and Andrew Watson this weekend. Rob Bell was quickest in qualifying this morning, but lost his time for a technical infringement. He lines up in second place, clear of teammate Miguel Ramos in the sister Teo Martin Motorsport McLaren. And there is Ramos receiving a debrief from his Portuguese compatriot Alvaro Parente, who will be taking over the car as we hit half race distance. It's the Aston Martin Brussels entry of Michael Schmetz and Tim Verbeek that lines up in fourth place. Home knowledge potentially to the fore. Schmetz was looking very impressive in wet qualifying earlier on. Another very welcome newcomer to the championship lines up in fifth place. That is Ewan Hankey in the TF Sport Aston Martin. Last time we saw TF Sport here in the International GTOpen with Jody Fallon and Darren Turner, they dominated at Silverstone in 2014. Sixth on the grid is the Vallorba Course Ferrari of Alessandro Balzan and Nicola Benucci. It's Balzan who starts, and he and Benucci fourth in the championship standings, but lost ground after a wretched race 2 in the Red Bull Ring. Seventh on the grid is the ART Lamborghini with Matthias Russo stepping in this weekend to partner Anton Neblitsky. Russo, winner this year in the Barboro Ferrari. Eighth on the grid then for Ezequiel Perez Companac and Raffaele Giammaria, thrice victorious in 2015, including last time out. Very impressive ninth on the grid for James Abbott in the Radical. The RXC V8 has had a few tweaks made to the engine through the summer, and Abbott was flying in qualifying earlier on. He shares the fifth row with Felipe Barrieros. Barrieros this time around going the full race distance on the foremost runners in the GT AM class. Cars about to set off on their formation lap as we take a look at the grid in full then. It is a very, very competitive field today. Michele Rugolo and Rob Bell share the front row. That will be quite the run to La Source. Then Miguel Ramos and Michael Schmetz next up. Aston Martins always go well here at Spa. Ewan Hankey from 5th alongside Alessandro Balzan. The ART Lamborghini has been getting stronger and stronger through the year. Matthias Russo could well spring a little bit of a surprise. James Abbott likewise feels that he could go much quicker if the rain holds off. Jürgen Alsen, a very warm welcome to him in the fantastic Ford. Claudio Sedanovic lines up in 13th, and alongside him is going to be Rafael Unzarazaga, who didn't make it out in qualifying but has made it to the grid for the race. So it's a 70-minute race ahead, and as ever there is the mandatory pit stop, which will be coming between 40 and 60% race distance. What that means is that when we have got 42 minutes remaining in the race, the pit window opens for 14 minutes, and then once we've got 28 minutes left in the race, then the pit window closes up again. All the cars in the International GTOpen run on a control compound Michelin tyre. This formation lap is the last opportunity for them to put a little bit of heat into that rubber as they head around the 7-kilometre home of the Belgian Grand Prix. Much of the circuit still following the route of the original Spa-Francorchamps circuit, going well back to the early part of the 20th century. There's the TF Sport Aston Martin of Ewan Hankey, which he will be sharing with Salih Yuluk, the Turkish driver, who has raced already this year in the British GT Championship. And the AERT Lamborghini, as you can get a sense from some of these pictures, that the banks of cloud just beginning to roll in, possibly, which could provide a slightly unwelcome challenge for some of these drivers. The race will hopefully run without the rain. If it does begin to come down, then that will certainly add an extra tactical dimension. So in terms of the championship, then, it is Miguel Ramos and Alvaro Prent who are leading the championship. They are just 4 points clear of Ezequiel Perez Compenac and Rafael Egia Maria, with then Passin Thoris and Michele Rugolo just a point back. And then Nicola Panucci and Alessandro Balzan very much in the mix in the Valour course Ferrari, but really they need a string of excellent results and possibly a little bit of misfortune for some of their rivals. It's the scarlet and blue Ferrari of Michele Rugolo alongside the bright orange McLaren of Rob Bell. Row 2 is the silver Vodafone Thierry Martin Motorsport McLaren of Miguel Ramos, and the Aston Martin Brussels Aston Martin of Michael Schmetz, which is the yellow and white car. We're seconds away from the start of the 9th race of the 2015 International GTOpen season. Thank you very much for joining us here in Spa-Francorchamps this weekend. I think we are going to be in for a little bit of a treat. Field of supercars, immense strength and depth in today's pack. There's probably any one of 8 or 9 cars that could come through and take the victory. Likewise, we've got some very quick cars entered into the GTAM class. You've got 70 minutes of racing ahead of us around one of the world's finest race circuits. The pace car forming them up side by side now. Michele Rugolo pacing the field alongside Rob Bell. Then we've got Miguel Ramos and Michael Schmetz on the second row as we wait for the pace car to peel aside. Then we'll be waiting for the gantry to change. Now, what we have been seeing in some of the other races so far today is that they're holding them coming out of the bus stop chicane to make sure that everybody has got a fair run towards the first turn at La Source before the race gets underway. It's the case once more as the lights change now, and away we go. And it's been a good start from Ezequiel Perez Compenac in the midfield, but also for Rob Bell, who takes the immediate advantage in the McLaren as they arrive. Oh, and there's contact between Ewan Hankey and Miguel Ramos is there at La Source. They're all through in one piece. I just wonder if there's a little bit of damage possibly to Ramos's car as they head downhill into Eau Rouge for the first time. It's Bell from Rugolo, then Michael Schmetz, Alessandro Balzan, and Miguel Ramos in 5th, Perez Compenac in 6th, Ewan Hankey next along, just clear of Matthias Russo as they sprint along the Kemmel Straight. They may have just avoided contact, in fact, at the source, but look very, very close as Bell has the advantage from Rugolo, turning through Les Combes for the first time, also mixing it right up there in front of the field. There is the Radical RXC of James Abbott. He is sandwiched between the Lamborghini and the Aston Martin. They've also been joined by Jürgen Altzen in his Ford GT as well. There is Altzen at the tail of that train. Frenetic action in the early stages. Altzen, who is a newcomer to racing here at Spa, immediately onto terms with Matthias Russo as Bell tries to stretch his legs out front. The rest of them all looking to remain in close contention early on. So the AERT Lamborghini heads through Pouhon. He's got the Ford snapping his heels, and Alzen already just breaking away a little bit from Felipe Barrieros, who is next along as the field jink through Fagnes on towards Stavelot, then that long run back towards the bus stop chicane, the end of the first lap of the race. So it's Bell from Rugolo, then Michael Schmetz, Alessandro Balzan, Miguel Ramos, Ezequiel Perez Compenac. So all the championship protagonists right up there with the spoiler of some other new cars to the championship, which provides additional competition. They will hope don't get in the way of the championship fight, but at the moment it's Rob Bell who is trying to build that buffer in these first couple of laps over Rugolo, then Schmetz and Balzan. Ewan Hankey trying to get onto terms with Ezekiel Perez-Compagnac, and James Abbott staying with them in the Radical, which has made a big step forward in terms of performance through the course of the summer. Balzan looks to pursue Schmetz downhill out of La Source hairpin. Rob Bell is already up through Eau Rouge, second clear of Rugolo at the end of the first lap. The fight, though, is probably the one for third and fourth, because Balzan has got a good run here on Schmetz as they climb out of Raidillon. Likewise, Hankey and Perez-Compagnac are running in reasonably close company, but Schmetz has to defend from the Valourba Course Ferrari. Which side's Balzan going to go to? He looks to the inside of Michael Schmetz on the brakes into Les Combes. The Aston Martin sees him coming, has to give him room. But Alessandro Balzan up into third place. Great stuff from the Italian driver. Michael Schmetz has to concede the place, and almost immediately slipping now into the clutches of Miguel Ramos. Ramos closes onto his tail. Meanwhile, here's a fight for 6th and 7th place. Ezekiel Perez-Compagnac under real pressure from Ewan Hankey in the TF Sport Aston Martin. Balzan living dangerously into Pouhon. Lays down a big black mark of Michelin rubber as he just snapped the car sideways. He's trying to break clear of Schmetz on this lap. Otherwise, Hankey asking all the right questions of Ezekiel Perez-Compagnac. And although this is a two-driver mandatory pit stop race, in the terms of GT racing, this is still very much a sprint, and therefore the fight for track position in the early stages is absolutely key. He looks to pick up the throttle in pursuit of Perez-Compagnac. The pair of them on this lap have just begun to open up a little bit of an advantage over James Abbott, and the same to Matthias Russo in 9th. Pounding through Blanchimont, absolutely using the limits of the road. It's in 5th place. Miguel Ramos closes on to Michael Schmetz. Battle for 6th, still in favour of Perez-Compagnac, much to the evident frustration of Hankey. Ready through is Rob Bell, 1.7 seconds his advantage over Michele Rugolo. 3rd place Balzan trying to ease away from Schmetz to close up on to the leading group of cars. Should explain that in the International GTOpen, the way that performance is balanced out through the season is additional success seconds in pit stops, which are accumulated by finishing up the order in the preceding races. But amongst our championship front runners, it's very evenly matched in terms of pit handicaps for today's race. Most cars carrying either 10 or 15 seconds. Therefore, the strategy dimension that we see in some races may well be less of a factor. Instead, it all comes down to track position, which is why Hankey is so anxious to try and overhaul Ezekiel Perez-Compagnac. Perez-Compagnac having to defend from Hankey, looks for the switchback as they head downhill towards the Bruxelles hairpin. Perez-Compagnac defends, Hankey looks to the outside. Through the right-hander, and then it's a trio of lefts, and Hankey thinks about darting to the inside of Perez-Compagnac. Can't do it at the first left-hander, then it's the double left at Pouhon. Again, defensive stuff from Perez-Compagnac, and Hankey's going to look to the outside here. Ewan Hankey's going to go for the move, is he? Not quite. He couldn't quite find the opportunity to draw alongside him, not a little bit in front of Ezekiel Perez-Compagnac as they run out of Pouhon. But the pair of them battling is bringing James Abbott into the mix. It's then the Piff Paff at Fagnes, which is next up. They all jink through. As Perez-Compagnac defends as well, what it's doing is allowing the leading quintet just to ease away and build up a little bit of an advantage on this, the 3rd lap of the race. Hankey using all the road, if not a little bit more, as he exits Stavelot and then pounds as quickly as he can through towards Blanchimont. It's the opportunity for them really to open out the throttle on the cars, see just how quickly they can go. and then line up for the brakes into the bus stop chicane. And Ewan Hankey looking to make the move on Perez Compagnac and draws around the outside. Can he get the car stopped in time? No, he can't. The Argentinian immediately jinks back in front of Hankey as they then sprint towards La Source. Worrying times for Raffaele Gianmaria. He doesn't want to see his car getting unduly caught up in midfield battles in these early stages when there are championship points to consider. So at the same time, Perez Compagnac knows that if he concedes this place, he's going to immediately have James Abbott chasing him down. Again, Hankey, a much cleaner run through Eau Rouge. Both drivers running out wide over the road, and already Perez Compagnac has picked up a warning flag for track limits. He now defends the inside line along the Kemmel Straight. What point will the TF Sport Aston Martin burst out of the bubble and look to challenge? He comes reasonably late, but he can't find a way to draw alongside and therefore dispute it on the brakes. It means that whereas we were, great dicing between the pair of them. Downhill towards the Bruxelles hairpin again. Perez Compagnac busy defending. James Abbott is about to invite himself to this party as well. He is lurking with intent in the white Radical RXC in 8th place. 9th, a little bit distant, is the AERT Lamborghini Matthias Russo, but he's still in camera shot. Head downhill towards Pouhon. Flick into the left-hander again. Carrying the momentum, picking up the throttle. So where can the Aston Martin find a way past? Ewan Hankey has tried pretty much every option on the track over the past lap or two. We're on the 4th lap of the race. Rob Bell leads. He's 2 seconds clear of Michele Rugolo. It's Balzan in 3rd. Here's another look at the challenge into the bus stop chicane, and that almost worked, but he just couldn't quite get the Aston Martin stopped and turned in time. And therefore, Perez Compagnac retains the place. Look at it from another angle. At that point, it seems as if all was done and dusted. That was smart driving, though, from Ewan Hankey, in that he decided not to unduly risk snatching a break, flat spotting the tyres, knowing there's a lot of racing remaining. So there's the 3rd place car of Balzan. 4th is Michael Smets in the white and yellow Aston Martin. 5th, Miguel Ramos. The fight for 6th is about to become a 4-car trainer. Still, Perez Compagnac defends from Hankey, who looks to the outside as they arrive into La Source. He's going to try and force Perez Compagnac to run wide and go for the switchback, and this might just work for the Aston as the pair of them run side by side downhill towards Eau Rouge. This promises to be very spectacular. Millimetres between them as they're about to hit the bottom of the road, and Hankey now finds a way past Ezequiel Perez Compagnac. But has it cost him momentum climbing up the crest of the hill and out of Radion onto the Kemmel Straight? Ewan Hankey clearly thinks it has. He moves across to cover the inside line of on the track. Perez Compagnac bursts the bubble. So does James Abbott, who is right there in the mix. And Perez Compagnac tries to fight back, still keeps his foot in around the outside, only now concedes the place. But immediately James Abbott snapping at his heels, trying to find a way back past. This is the fight for 6th place. To the Bruxelles hairpin. So Matthias Russo, getting increasingly familiar with the Lamborghini, is now bringing the ART machine into the mix, or was, as he has a huge slide next to Bruxelles, the rear of the car just snapping away. 11 minutes into the 9th race of the International GTOpen season. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. It's Rob Bell who leads from Michele Rugolo, Sandro Balzan, Michael Smets, Miguel Ramos, Ezequiel Perez Compagnac, Ewan Hankey, James Abbott in 8th, Matthias Russo is 9th, and Jürgen Alsen currently completes the top 10. Here's another look then at the pass. Aston Martin drawing alongside. There, of course, Ferrari. Is international GT racing at its very, very best. Look of frustration for Raffaele Gianmaria, but all is not lost. The bright orange McLaren of Rob Bell is our race leader ahead of Michele Rugolo in the first of the AF Course Ferraris. Rugolo and the Thoras in pursuit of their 3rd win of the season. Third place, Alessandro Balzan in the Vallorba course Ferrari. And Balzan was making inroads into Michele Ruggolo. That's not really been the case over the course of the last lap, as Ruggolo doing everything he can to try and stay in contact with Rob Bell. And the reason for that is that Rob has got just a 15-second pit handicap, as happens for all new cars of the championship. Ruggolo and the Thoras have got 10 seconds. So if Michele Ruggolo can stay in contact with Rob Bell, there is a chance that he'll be able to feed, passing the Thoras, back into the lead of the race when the mid-race pit stop cycle begins in about 15 minutes' time. Here comes Hankey into Les Combes, and then already down the Kemmel Straight, James Abbott applying the pressure to Ezequiel Perez-Compagnac. Matthias Russo lurking with intent in the Lamborghini as well. Downhill towards Bruxelles, and again Perez-Compagnac busy defending. And this is a frustrating performance for Ezequiel Perez-Compagnac. He's not able to get into the rhythm and run his own race. Instead, what he's having to do is take the more defensive racing lines around the track, and that is costing him plenty of time. It's also allowing Matthias Russo and James Abbott just to sniff blood and realise that there are potentially more places on the table. Turning through Fagna. The Lamborghini has been a little bit tail happy on occasions this year, but that was looking really nice from Russo, who closes up onto terms with James Abbott. You've got to wonder at what point as well Matthias Russo will be frustrated with following Abbott and want to run his own race and try and fight past. Meanwhile, the fight for third, fourth and fifth has just opened up. Michael Schmetz in fourth, clear of championship leader Miguel Ramos. Mateo Martin Motorsport McLaren. Ramos and Prent victorious just once this season, but many podiums along the way. And for Miguel Ramos, based on the bitter experience of being runner-up in the International GTOpen for the past 2 seasons, and last year having by far the most wins along the way, it still wasn't enough to give him the championship because of retirements and inconsistencies. And this year, it's always been about bringing the car home in a good points-paying place, and that is paying dividends in terms of the title fight. Michael Schmetz, driver very familiar with the Spa circuit. He finished third in last year's Belgian Racing Car Championship, the 39-year-old. 6th in the series the year before, as now Matthias Russo looks to line up the move on James Abbott. The Lamborghini looking particularly feisty through Eau Rouge, but it's along the Kemmel Straight, which is the territory which really favours the Radical. It's got very good straight line speed, does the Radical RXC, and that means that James Abbott, even in the event of towing along the Lamborghini, has still got enough of an advantage. But Abbott having to work the car hard through Les Combes on towards Bruxelles. And as Abbott's defended, it's just given Ezequiel Perez-Compagnac, for the first time in the race, as we're on the 7th lap, the opportunity to build a little bit of a buffer. So just over 15 minutes in, it's Rob Bell who leads. Michele Ruggolo is in second, Alessandro Balzan third, Michael Schmetz fourth, Miguel Ramos fifth, Ewan Hankey sixth, Ezequiel Perez-Compagnac seventh. Watching the fight for 8th and 9th at the moment between James Abbott and Matthias Russo. In 10th, Jürgen Alsen going very well. He's almost 10 seconds clear of Felipe Barrieroth. And then it's Howard Blank, Claudio Sadanovic next along. Rob Bell about to reel off another lap. Last time through, he set the fastest lap of the race, which was a 2 minutes 18.270. Is he going to improve on it on this occasion? Find out imminently. No, he was about half a second off his very best time in the race, but crucially, he was half a second quicker than Michele Ruggolo, and therefore the gap from first to second opens out to 4.3 seconds. Ruggolo in turn was half a second faster than Alessandro Balzan, so from second to third goes out also by half a second, this time to 5.1 seconds. Michael Schmetz was a whole second quicker than Alessandro Balzan last time through. Is now within 1.7 seconds of the third placed Vallorba course Ferrari. And there you just seeing the back of the shot, the Aston Martin beginning to loom large in Balzan's rear view mirrors. No such concerns for Michele Rugolo. He is sticking to his rhythm. They're in a very solid second place. But he is just beginning to maybe fall outside that magic 5-second buffer, which he really needs to retain to feed out passing the Thoras ahead of Andrew Watson. Once the pit stop cycle has been worked through, the pit window open for 14 minutes, so it does give the opportunity for strategy to come into play, because that's probably worth about 5 laps, maybe 6 at a push. And therefore the benefit for something like Miguel Ramos to pit in early, feed out Alvaro Peren, is very strong to play the strategy that way. Likewise, for Michele Rugolo, he might be inclined to pit towards the tail end of the pit window and give passing the Thoras as much of an advantage as possible to try and maintain or build. Well, there is passing the Thoras. Thumbs up. The driver from Thailand. Bell about to conclude lap 8, using every inch of the road, benefiting from the camber. This is the performance we would have expected from the 36-year-old Rob Bell. Hugely successful GT racer. He is a 2-time Le Mans Series GT2 champion, McLaren Works driver. And his advantage over Michele Rugolo has remained pretty stable over the course of that last lap, gone out by just a tenth of a second. This is the fight that's really coming together, because Michael Schmetz, for the second lap in a row, substantially quicker than the Vauxhall Ferrari of Alessandro Balzan, and that gap is now down to just 9/10 of a second. And are they bringing Miguel Ramos with them for company? Yes, they are, is the answer. Ramos running at the same pace as Schmetz. He's only 2.9 seconds back. If the Belgian driver, Schmetz, catches up to Balzan, they start dicing them. That is going to bring Miguel Ramos into the mix. You can see the ground they've already conceded to Michele Rugolo on straight. Here is Miguel Ramos. His advantage over Ewan Hankey is out to some 12 seconds as a result of the time that it took Hankey to clear Ezekiel Perez Complex. So that's not a concern for Ramos. Teo Martin Motorsport team consult the monitors from the pit wall as now Schmetz gets onto terms with Balzan. Now this is a little bit uncharacteristic from the Vauxhall Ferrari. Would have expected Balzan to be matching Michele Rugolo stride for stride, not to be a second off that pace. So plenty of Michael Schmetz right on the tail of Alessandro Balzan as they head through Fagnes on towards Stavelot. Then it is the high-speed run back towards the pit complex. It's where they rejoin the original Spa-Francorchamps road circuit, which you can still actually drive in your road car as part of the approach to the track, and it's well worth a trip to see how terrifying the original pure road course layout was. Again through Blanchimont. Schmetz just using a little bit less of the road. Alessandro Balzan. The gap at the start of the lap, don't forget, was 9/10 of a second. It would appear to be a little bit less than that at the end of it as Balzan rides the sausage curb at the bus stop chicane, applies the throttle to come out of it. The pair of them head through and start their 10th lap of the race, and the gap comes down to just over 0.3 of a second. And Schmetz could well be poised to have a little bit of a challenge here along the Kemmel Straight. If not a little bit sooner, he gets an excellent run out La Source, runs in the wheel tracks behind the Vauxhall Ferrari. The pair of them plunge downhill towards Eau Rouge. They reach the compression at the bottom of the hill and then climb up out of Radion. Both of them absolutely on the limit. Headlights ablaze from the Aston Martin Brussels entry of Michael Schmetz as he closes up in the tow behind Alessandro Balzan. They run along towards Les Combes. Schmetz looks to the outside. Balzan plants the car in the middle of the road, defends the apex, then has to get on the anchors, but is able to block out the Aston Martin. Schmetz can't quite benefit. Next challenge is the Bruxelles hairpin again. Balzan forced into a defensive move. Schmetz looks to the outside, then for the switchback. great battle here in Spa, the 9th race of the International GTOpen season. Rob Bell leads from Michele Rugolo, but all eyes in the Ardennes are on the fight for 3rd place between Alessandro Balzan and Michael Schmetz. When I said all eyes, that excludes those of Rafael Unzarazaga, who rotates into the tyre wall. Hopefully that's just cosmetic damage. Yes, indeed it is, because there is the cosmetic damage. Unzarazaga back underway, but I fear probably to return to the pits. And as we rather thought might be the case now, as Balzan defends from Schmetz, it's bringing Miguel Ramos into the mix. It's making it a 3-way fight for 3rd place. In 6th place, we've got Ewan Hankey. 7th is Ezekiel Perez-Compagnac. 8th, going fantastic well, is James Abbott. 9th, Matthias Russo. And Jürgen Alsen completes the top 10. We are also just over 4 minutes away from the pit window opening, when there are 42 minutes left on the race clock. The pit window will open. We've currently got 46.5 minutes left in the race. As Ramos, Schmetz and Balzan all close up on each other once more. Alessandro Balzan at 2 minutes 20.9. That plays at 2 minutes 19.5 from Ramos. That's why he was closing right in as well through Eau Rouge and the compression, then climbing uphill. Nobody seems quite close enough to challenge as Unzarazaga into the pits. He's taken a big bite out of the bodywork, and that sadly is something that masking tape will not repair. So Rafael Unzarazaga out of the race. Again, it's coming out of Les Combes, where Michael Schmetz really starts to ask all the right questions of the Law Because Ferrari, but this time around, Balzan doesn't have to defend into the Bruxelles hairpin. That's going to gain him a 10th or 2. Let's head around the hairpin and then into the first of the trio of left-handers. This is the unnamed left that feeds them downhill towards Pouhon. Also, of course, as this battle continues, in 6th place, Ewan Hankey is circulating a little bit more rapidly than this fight ahead of him, so he will be aiming to close down a little bit of ground. We're on the 11th lap of the race. We have got 45 minutes exactly remaining. Turning through Fagnes. They're out of Fagnes on towards Stavelot. It's a quick replay of our race leader, Rob Bell. And Bell has been absolutely dominant so far. Really impressive stuff from Bell. 4.8 seconds is his lead at the moment over Michele Rugolo. As now Schmetz looks to line up the move on Balzan into the bus stop chicane. The Aston Martin looks to the inside. Oh, there's almost contact between them. Balzan just leaves Schmetz the millimetres that he needed to make the turn. Great stuff. Now, what has the Aston Martin got in store? They power past the commentary box, overlooking the start and finish straight, and Schmetz was in pursuit, and he darts the inside now at La Source and goes through the Aston Martin Brussels car up into 3rd position, to the delight of the crowd here in Spa-Francorchamps. Now, has Balzan got any sort of response here in the Law Because Ferrari? They climb out of Eau Rouge and Radiant along the Kemmel Straight, and this time the slipstream works in favour of Alessandro Balzan. He can sit in behind Schmetz. Rather, Schmetz moves across somewhat preemptively to defend. Balzan has no designs on picking his way past. We have been treated to some great racing already this afternoon. It's been the Aston Martins which have been looking particularly feisty, but now it's a Radical versus Lamborghini battle that we've got on our hands, because in the fight for 8th and 9th, Matthias Russo has not let James Abbott out of his sights, and Abbott in the Radical RXC having to work very hard. The Argentinian driver Matthias Russo, who has raced the Argentinian Touring Car Championship with considerable success in his career, also in European GT racing. Now here is another look at how it all unfolded. So Schmetz looks to the inside of Balzan can't quite do it. And then into La Source, sees a gap. Not to be deterred. The Belgian driver picks his way past. But we have still got a long way to go. 42.5 minutes. We're not yet half race distance, but we are just a fraction of seconds away from the pit window opening. 14 minutes, of course. Though James Abbott has got the slightly unenviable task, as it probably feels right now, of completing this race single-handedly. So he's getting his head down, pushing as best he can. I wonder if the team will call him reasonably early, just to get him out of this battle as the window opens up. 10th place, we've not seen much of him, but Jürgen Alsen going really well in the Ford. He's been able to build up a nice advantage over Felipe Barrieros. In turn, Barrieros is keeping both Howard Blank and Claudio Sadanovic at bay. We've got one car into the pit lane, not unsurprisingly, it's Miguel Ramos, turned over to Alvaro Prent, also in his Ezequiel Perez Companac, to pass over to Raffaele Giamaria. Alvaro Prent unclipping Miguel Ramos. That's not quite as smooth as they'd perhaps have hoped, but nonetheless I don't think it's going to slow him down particularly. More worryingly possibly was the engine cover opening up as Ezequiel Perez Companac is out. Raffaele Giamaria, former podium finisher in Monte Carlo in Formula 3000, steps in, and all the while Rob Bell continues to lap metronomically. Well, everybody knew that this second-tier Martin Motorsport McLaren of Rob Bell and Andrew Watson was going to be competitive this weekend. Quite how competitive has possibly taken one or two by surprise. Bell running beautifully smoothly in these early stages, because not only has he built up a nice advantage at the front of the field, but he's also not really been unduly pushing the car. It has just looked very elegant, almost like another McLaren driver of the past, although in single-seaters, Alain Prost, in terms of the way that the car has been devastatingly quick. It doesn't look really as if he's having to work the car at all. Of course, that's to do Rob Bell a massive disservice, because behind the wheel he will be pushing very, very hard, extracting everything, but at the same time, sometimes working hard means letting the car do the hard work for you. Bell about to start lap 14. Eric's on his way. Michele Rugolo, another driver who is going to be staying out reasonably deep into this pit window, I would suspect. Michael Schmetz, likewise, they're probably going to have to throw the pit board at him to get him in, because he has been going fantastically well in third place and clearly enjoying himself enormously. And Schmetz indeed does continue without pitting, as does Alessandro Balzan. They've both come past the commentary position. The only slight blot on the horizon is that it is darkening once more here in Spa. The forecast was for it to rain about half an hour ago, and as yet that rain has held off. Although the skies are dark, unless some clouds blow in very suddenly, I think we're going to probably get through to the end of this pit window without precipitation, which could then potentially throw everything on its head if we do get rain in the latter stages of the race. Particularly as in these big GT3 cars, there is always that temptation, given the high level of aerodynamic grip, just to risk it if they possibly can. Bell's lead over Michele Rugolo out now to just shy of 6.5 seconds. Which by the stands of some of the races we've seen in the International GTOpen this year is a pretty significant margin to have achieved by the time that we get to the pit cycle. There is Jürgen Alsen in the Ford GT. Wonderful to see Jürgen entered for this weekend. Absolutely spectacular car coming to the circuit this morning. A couple of people were saying to me, I'm really looking forward to the race this weekend because we've got the Ford GT on the grid. It's just one of those cars that you could watch going around all day long. Alsen picks up the throttle, coming out over the crest of Radion and along the Kemmel Straight. Alzen, with adjustments for pit stops, is circulating in 8th position. Comes Raffaele Gianmaria. Rob Bell, race leader. He embarks on lap 15. No need to peel into pitch yet. The pit window's still open for another 9 minutes. Likewise, Michele Rugolo and Michael Schmetz going to decline to pit in. The only other 2 pit stops to advise you of is that Stefan Lemeret has taken over from Claudio Sadanovic, and Howard Blank has passed the keys of his AF Course Ferrari across to Yannick Malagol. So 4 cars have pitted in. Rugolo just again trying to let the AF Course Ferrari do the hard work, and in particular really conserve the life of the Michelin tyres for when passing the Thores gets into the car in a few moments' time. And this has been a really nice drive from Michele Rugolo, because it has been smooth and not overly exuberant. Into the pit lane now comes Matthias Russo. That is going to be the former Formula Renault 3.5 litre racer Anton Neblitsky, who will take over from him. Arriving to a halt is Matthias Russo. He gets out. Neblitsky gets in, so a little bit of a top-up of fuel as well for the ART Lamborghini. I think Matthias Russo, though, can be rightly proud of his debut in the Lamborghini, a very different proposition to the Poro Ferrari with which we've seen him compete already this year. Michael Schmetz in the Aston Martin, such an elegant-looking car, the Aston Martin. Always a real treat to see them out racing. Schmetz has pulled out now some 3.5 seconds over Alessandro Balzan. He some way back from Michele Rugolo. I just wonder, possibly when Tim Verbeek gets behind the wheel, whether or not they may stand a chance of chasing down the Thores late on. Meanwhile, into the pit lane now comes Felipe Barreiroth. Don't forget, the Portuguese is going to go for the full 70 minutes single-handedly, so it's a case of the door being opened, a drink proffered, possibly a new set of Michelin boots as well. Going on, Gianmaria almost a lap down on Rob Bell. Raffaele Gianmaria, his last lap was a 2:21.7. That compares to a 2:19.8 from Rob Bell. Alvaro Parent, interestingly, a 2:23.036. Just wonder whether all is as it should be with the Teo Martin Motorsport McLaren, because the car sounded a little bit rough when it came past the commentary box on the last occasion, and that is an unusually slow time from Parent, particularly given it's some 4 seconds slower than the sister McLaren of Rob Bell. Ewan Hankey, the Aston Martin, rumbles to La Source. Again, expect to see Ewan probably leaving it till reasonably late in the pit window before passing over to the less experienced but nonetheless pretty rapid Sally Yuluk. Key for the 16th time of asking, rolls downhill and then climbs up through Eau Rouge, out of Radion and onto the Kemmel Straight. And again, Kemmel Straight, the camera angle really does foreshorten it quite substantially. The straight goes on for an absolute eternity, even in these big, powerful cars. If you were to take your road car out for a track day here at Spa, you would just be amazed at how long that section of the circuit goes on for, but then really how busy the rest of the lap is, because even though compared to some tracks the corners don't come quite as thick and fast after each other, because they're generally slightly faster turns, they really do arrive with some rapidity. Through the left-hander then for Ewan Hankey, who, if you're unfamiliar with his racing track record, has been a very successful Porsche Carrera Cup racer in the UK. Also was a front runner in the Formula BMW Championship when that was launched, and is now embarking on a career in GT racing. The TF Sport Aston Martin team, a very good place to land. The squad have been prominent at the front of several GT championships this year. Very much hope that they become a regular part of the international GTOpen. Key currently in 5th 15th. Prent another lap in the 2-minute 23s, by the way, last time round. Here is Stéphane Lemaret. Very happy 42nd birthday to Stéphane as well. Celebrated that yesterday. And a problem, and it's a puncture for Alessandro Balzan as the rear left tyre has deflated on the Villorba-Course Ferrari. Such wretched luck for Balzan. It's the second race in a row where there has been some sort of technical drama. Last time out in the Red Bull Ring, the car wouldn't fire up post pit stops. This time, possibly been prompted into a slightly premature pit stop. Just wonder as well whether that has been a slow puncture that Balzan has been nursing all the way through his stint, because he just seemed a little bit strangely off the pace as he stalks away. Also in is James Abbott. So there are plenty of talking points heading into the second half of the race, because I'm not convinced that all is right with the Teo Martin Motorsport McLaren of Alvaro Parent. Good just to have a look at that in a minute and have a little bit of a listen into it. Rob Bell and Michele Rugolo continue to lead the way. Now up into 4th place we have got Ewan Hankey. The pit window is open for another 3 minutes. It closes when there are 28 minutes left on the clock, and I have to tell you that the sky opposite our commentary box window has darkened dramatically in the course of the last 2 or 3 minutes or so. Just wonder whether or not those that have gambled on a very late pit stop may just be able to flick on the wet tyres. I don't think they're quite going to have the opportunity to do that. It's Rob Bell powers through Blanchimont, but you can see the murk is just beginning to descend now. It'll be a race at Spa-Francorchamps in September without the changeable weather. Oh, and Bell makes the mistake, now heads into the pit lane. Just would open the question whether or not there's a little bit of rain starting to come down over towards the bus stop chicane. Indeed, looking out from the commentary box window, that would appear to be the case. The marshals are putting on the hoods of their jackets as Bell rolls down the pit lane. Andrew Watson is waiting for him, as are slick tyres. So the Goldwing door is opened. Rob Bell jumps out. Michele Rugolo is also out of the car. Passing Nathoras jumps in, and we have reports of rain as well at the source. This could be incredibly dramatic. These late pitters are going with slicks. It's certainly not wet enough yet to go with wet weather tyres. Also jumping in to the Aston Martin is Tim Verbeekt, the reigning Belgian race car champion. He was second the year before. So if Michael Schmetz was quick, then Tim Verbeekt could also throw up a little bit of a surprise. Sally Yuluk jumps in to the TF Sport Aston as the rain starts to descend on the pit lane right at the very tail end of the pit window, and there we see the windscreen wiper for James Abbott. We'll give you a full rundown of the order when they come through at the end of the next lap, once the pit cycle has been completed. There is Alvaro Parent. Here is Nicola Bonucci. I'm not convinced that all is as it should be with Parent. Right here on the next shot, anything's going wrong. It doesn't sound that substantial. Just sounds a little bit off turn. It's now raining everywhere, and Watson gets an Oregano Rouge. Andrew Watson, the race leader, spins and crunches into the tyre wall. A huge crash for the Teo Martin Motorsport McLaren. Andrew Watson on his outlap at the top of Eau Rouge as the rain comes down. He was on slick tyres, and the car just snapped away from him and slammed into the tyre wall. As the rain has not only arrived, it has arrived plentifully. Straight back into the pits to put on wets is Nicola Bonucci, but it's a struggle even for the Italian to get the car slowed to the pit lane speed limit. I suspect that we are also going to be staring down the barrel ends here of a safety car for the car of Andrew Watson just as the pit window closes. Wet tyres go on for the Vallorba Course Ferrari. Wet tyres also now for Raffaele Giammaria in the AF Course Ferrari. The safety car has come out. The safety car is out as we expected, and the race is suddenly thrown on its head with 27.5 minutes remaining. The rain came down, and this is what brought out the safety car. Andrew Watson out of the pits on slicks. The car breaks away from him. He does all he can to scrub the speed off, but crunches backwards into the tyre wall. A great pity. I hope that the car hasn't sustained too much damage and we'll be back out to play in tomorrow's race. But now everything is brought under control. We're going to be looking at a real shootout in the closing stages because they'll all have the opportunity to put on wet tyres. They'll also all be bunched up. You just wonder whether or not this may favour the local knowledge of the likes of Tim Verbeek. For Jürgen Alsen, he's in 5th, but he spins the Ford at Fagnes, even under low speed. The Michelin tyre we've seen throughout the course of the year, when the temperature goes out from it, it becomes a very slippery tyre to manage. Jürgen Alsen getting back underway. Alvaro Prent has no option but to pick his way past the thunderous Ford GT. Alsen requiring an extremely educated right foot to get that car pointing safely in the right direction. Nicola Benucci, we know, has put wet tyres on. Into the pit lane now is passing the Thoras. He's going to be putting some wets on as well. Quite what that's going to do to the race order, we will find out in due course, but we could end up with a very surprise result coming out of all of this. Of course, team getting to work also in is his teammate Yannick Malagol. There's Michele Rugolo, jacket on, watching the work be completed. Oh, the Thoras spins up the Michelin, gets himself going now. And here is another chance to see Jürgen Alsen spin, just caught out. So the Thoras leads as we take a break from Spa with the conditions really worsening. Here is the Teo Martin Motorsport McLaren of Alvaro Prent. He is having some wet tyres added as well. Now, what I should say is that although the rain is coming down, it certainly in the pit area is not coming down torrentially. It's more of a slippery drizzle rather than full-blown wet weather. And therefore, if this is just a passing shower, there's certainly the question about whether or not wet tyres would make it all the way through to the flag. The cycle of changes to wets is almost complete. Jürgen Alsen back of the pit lane, and in front of the picture is Anton Neblitsky, who's got a little bit of a problem there with the wheel nut on the rear right tyre. Mechanic reaffixes the wheel nut. For whatever reason, that's not happening for him, and he's losing a lot of time here. He reaches for the spare. Now, that is interesting. Tim Verbeek has got the jump on passing the Thoras. So these are the first two cars in the race. Verbeek is our race leader. La Thoras is in second place. Whomever is going to be in third, we will find out in due course. And what we have seen amply demonstrated this afternoon is both the wonder of why we enjoy racing at Spa, but also just how quickly the weather and therefore races can turn here in the Ardennes. James Abbott completing his service in the Radical pits. Just a train of two cars behind the safety car. Safety car remains on track here in the 9th race of the International GT Open at Spa-Francorchamps. We had just completed our mid-race pit stop cycle when the rain came down, and that caught out Andrew Watson as he emerged from the pits on slick tyres. Watson spinning and having a big impact with the tyre wall at Eau Rouge. The car ending up very close to the edge of the circuit, and that in turn has prompted the safety car. It's also prompted a flurry of pit stops to change everybody to wet tyres. Running now out of Stavelot. We'll find out at the end of this lap what the new race order is. There is still plenty of time once the safety car retreats for quite a battle. It's a shame that some of the strategic dimension has rather gone away, but what has also certainly started to disappear over at the pit lane is the rain. It was a quick shower that descended, very quickly sprinkling the circuit and making it slippery and damp. As you can see, the drivers, many of whom don't have their windscreen wipers on, certainly Tim Verbeek at the head of the field doesn't, suggest that it's probably doing no more than lightly drizzling. That makes for very difficult track conditions. Well, the safety car is certainly going to be going out for at least one more lap. And we'll give you the order at the end of the 19th lap as they filter through. It is Tim Verbeek at the head of the field in the Aston Martin Brussels entry after a stunning opening stint from Michael Schmetz. So Verbeek leads. Passing Thoris is in second place. Sally Yuluk is in third place in the TF Sport Aston Martin. The red car that's third in the train, that's Yannick Malagol, who is a lap down. In fourth place is Nicola Bonucci. Fifth is Alvaro Parent. Sixth is Raffaele Giamaria. So all of the championship contenders running very closely, both in terms of track position and overall race position when we do get underway. Seventh is Jürgen Alson. Eighth, Anton Neblitsky. Ninth, James Abbott. And completing the top 10 is currently Philippe Barrieroth. It's down towards Eau Rouge. This is where Watson was caught out, and really hope that the car hasn't been too badly damaged to terminate the Teo Martin Motorsport McLaren's participation in the weekend. The field filtering uphill now. And along the Kemmel Straight, we have got just about 20 minutes remaining in the race. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon here in Spa-Francorchamps. Always a firm favourite for, I think, everybody involved in motorsport as an organiser, a competitor, a journalist, a spectator, or just a casual fan watching at home, because it is a track which always produces high drama and plenty of spectacle. Still looking very treacherous over at Les Combes. It has possibly rained just a little bit more heavily than it has in the pit complex, and this is always the real challenge of Spa. It's a circuit that's some 7 kilometres in length, and the way that it winds itself through the valley means that it's eminently possible that it can rain essentially 2.5–3 kilometres away over at Les Combes, but be perfectly dry, or at least drier, back towards the pit section, and likewise it could be raining very heavily at the pits and dry through this section of the track. So Michele Rugolo just passing a couple of instructions to the team. Now, when are we going to see the safety car retreating? We weren't really able to get a sense of how much work was still ongoing at Eau Rouge on that occasion. The answer is the safety car is coming in on this lap, so the action is about to get back underway. We're going to have the best part of 17 minutes of racing ahead of us, and Tim Verbeek, on his International GT Open debut, is suddenly going to be thrust right to the front of the queue. Third in the race is currently this car, the TF Sport Aston Martin of Sally Yuluk. Yuluk with a lot on his plate. Can he hold on to that third place? He's got some very quick cars behind him. This also potentially really plays into the hands of both Raffaele Giamaria and Alvaro Perent, because gaps that had opened up during the first half of the race have now completely closed down, and they are two of the quickest drivers in the race as the lights go out on the safety car now. And that means that Tim Verbeek, if the team haven't already told him on the radio, will be very well aware that the action is about to get restarted. Passing the Thoras just behind him. Then it's Yannick Malagol, who is a lap down, so that might give a little bit of a buffer to the leading duo for Sally Yuluk. Nicola Benucci and Alvaro Perent can all take their turn at trying to close up to the leaders. This is going to be quite something. The last quarter of the race. Wet weather now prevails at Spa-Francorchamps. The safety car peels in, and it is Tim Verbeek in the yellow and white Aston Martin Brussels car who leads them out of the bus stop chicane as we go racing once more. The green flag flies, and already Verbeek applies his right foot, tries to break clear of passing the Thoras. Next group of cars all sprinting through. Nobody actually getting onto terms with Yannick Malagol. They're all feeling out where the grip might be. Perent busy defending from Raffaele Giamaria, and then Alvaro Perent looking to try and challenge Nicola Benucci, who snaps the tail of the car, coming out of La Source, running downhill towards Eau Rouge. This is where it all went wrong for Andrew Watson. The first couple of cars get through without drama. Driver who possibly was looking like he was going to be caught out, indeed he was Nicola Benucci. Nicola Benucci running very wide through Eau Rouge. He loses out to Alvaro Perent. He's going to lose out as well to Raffaele Giamaria. And in terms of the championship, that could be significant. It's more points lost for the Villorba course Ferrari squad. Oh, and a problem for Sally. Look, he goes around at Les Combes. Has everybody missed him? Certainly the first few cars have, as the Turkish driver rejoins or attempts to. Shows just how difficult these conditions are as Giamaria and Perent do battle. Likewise, passing the Thoras is closing onto terms with Tim Verbeek. Oh, and another problem for Jürgen Alsen, and that is looking rather more emphatic for the Ford GT. A great pity. And these are really, really difficult conditions. Another big slide for Nicola Benucci. Still not convinced all is as it should be. The Teo Martin Motorsport McLaren of Alvaro Perent. The car just sounds as if it's missing a beat, and they've not gone on, and he and Giamaria haven't gone to terms with Verbeek and the Thoras, who are going wheel to wheel. They tiptoe their way through Fagnes. Now this is very unenviable for Tim Verbeek, because he's having to lead the race. He's also having to find where all the grip is. The Thoras able to benefit just behind him. Then we have got Yannick Malagol. He's a lap down, and he's got Alvaro Perent now snapping his heels. Where to look is the question, because the Thoras has got a good run on Verbeek coming out of Stavelot. The breaking point for the bus stop chicane is going to be something of an adventure for all of the leaders. Malagol now moves aside, allows Alvaro Perent to power past him. And that has been a very bold run through Blanchimont for Verbeek. It means that he's got enough of an advantage over passing the Thoras, not to be under particular pressure through the bus stop chicane. Now Perent seems to be up to speed. He's clear of Raffaele Giamaria. He's put that lap on Yannick Malagol, but he has got a little bit of ground to close up from third place to passing the Thoras, but he's doing all he can, possibly being aided by the fact that the weather has suddenly taken another significant turn for the worse. It has started raining very, very heavily now along the start and finish straight, and is looking likewise very difficult through Eau Rouge, and this is playing into the hands of Verbeek. He's easing away from the Thoras. Then we have got Alvaro Perent, Raffaele Giamaria settling in behind him. Got yellow flags up here at Les Combes. That is where Jürgen Alsen, I think, had his moment last time around, or is it? Something you look, hopefully, is recovered and underway. Unfortunately, our timing screen has just gone down, so I'm going with the graphics that we can see. That was the moment for Nicola Benucci when he ran wide at Eau Rouge. Here was the spin for Sally Yuluk, and yes, in the background you can see Jürgen Elsen exiting stage left and unfortunately crunching into the Armco. As Perent runs a little bit wide through the left-hander. And back into the clutches of Raffaele Gianmaria. Tim Verbeek looking for the wet lines. He knows where he can find the grip, which is away from the conventional racing line. It's towards the edge of the turns where all the marbles have accumulated through the course of the weekend. Leading quartet all covered by under 5 seconds. 12.5 minutes remaining. It's going to feel like an extremely long 12.5 minutes, because this is the championship fight as well, thrown into the open. Just 5 points separating the cars of Lathoras, Perent and Gianmaria heading into today's race, and it's going to be very, very close at the conclusion of it as well. The car's now beginning to really kick up a fair bit of spray as well, particularly if they just put a wheel or so towards the periphery of the circuit. Coming to the end of the 22nd lap of the race. The fight for first place between Tim Verbeek and passing Lathoras remains as close as it ever was, but for all that Lathoras has been chasing Verbeek, he's not been able to fashion the move to get past just yet, so across the line they come. Lathoras looking to line up the move into La Source. I don't think he's quite close enough, much as he'd like to be, but now the leading quartet covered by just 3.2 seconds. That's down from 5 seconds last time round, and Verbeek runs wide at La Source. This gives Lathoras the opportunity to challenge the Belgian driver as they run downhill towards Eau Rouge. Verbeek is determined to try and keep his foot in here, but passing Lathoras, moves across, claims the line, but is offline through Eau Rouge, and it's going to give Verbeek the opportunity to maybe challenge as they come out of Radion onto the Kemmel Straight, and here comes Alvaro Perent surging in the background. Headlights ablaze down the Kemmel Straight. Very, very difficult conditions. Lathoras has got enough over Verbeek, but it's now the responsibility of Lathoras to try and find where the grip is whilst leading the race, and that is an unenviable task for Lathoras. But if you cast your mind back 12 months ago, he went extremely well here on his international GTOpen debut. It's a track he absolutely loves and relishes. Verbeek doing everything he can to find the grip towards the periphery of the circuit. Alvaro Perent now closing up onto the race leaders. The leading quartet all covered by very little ground. But this has been a good lap from Lathoras. Is he finding the grip where he needs to? It's the big question. It would appear to be the case at the moment, and this really would be a breakthrough victory for passing Lathoras if he's to convert his current lead into the win. Well, Felipe Barrieros getting it all wrong on the brakes since bus stop chicane, up over the curb. Fortunately gets the car stopped well ahead of the tyre wall, but that would have not been a whole heap of fun for quite a while there for Felipe Barrieros. Now Perent in pursuit of Verbeek, and in fact is about to find a way past Stavilo Izzy, the Aston Martin driver, just struggling to maintain the consistency as Perent runs alongside in towards Blanchimont. The Aston Martin though, the straight line has still just got the legs over the McLaren, so there's nothing doing for Perent on that occasion. Gianmaria, I wouldn't say content, but he is at the moment just remaining in 4th place, seeing how it all unfolds in front of him. Now tries to draw alongside Perent as they jink their way through the bus stop chicane. But this has been a fantastic lap for passing Lathoras, who has suddenly opened up a reasonably substantial lead at the front of the field. It is 2.3 seconds. The fight for second place almost 3 wide into La Source. Perent trying for the switchback. Verbeek's having absolutely none of it. Gianmaria looking to find any space on the track which is not occupied by Aston Martin or McLaren. Downhill they come towards Eau Rouge. All the while though, passing Lathoras, able to begin to check out the front of the field as Perent tries to force the move to the inside. Radion now down the Kemmel Straight, right in the slipstream behind the Aston Martin, passing the Thoras in the middle of the road. He leads the way. It's the battle for second place, which is absolutely captivating. Prent can't yet find a way past the Aston. Instead, he's busy defending from Raffaele Gianmaria. They all exit Les Combes reasonably safely. Just 7.5 minutes remain. The lap times at the moment are in the region of 2 minutes 46 seconds as Prent forces the move to the inside of Bruxelles, and he's going to go past. Brilliant move from Alvaro Prent. There was never a gap there, but he eventually made one. Smiling applause from Miguel Ramos. I think he thoroughly enjoyed that. Now it's the turn of Raffaele Gianmaria to try and overhaul the Aston Martin, which he does almost immediately. As Verbet puts a wheel or two on the AstroTurf, heading downhill towards Pouhon. This is going to be the big question, is whether or not Prent has got the pace underneath him to close up onto passing the Thoras. It's a deficit of something in the region of 3 seconds. But the former British Formula 3 champion, the former Formula Renault 3.5 litre champion, Alvaro Prent, is a very, very talented racer, as is Raffaele Gianmaria behind him. And these conditions are absolutely perfect to drive around anything which isn't quite working in the car as they'd like it to, or any compromises they've had to make on setup. As Prent runs a little bit wide again as he comes through Stavelot. He's getting on the throttle precariously early, but we'll find out at the end of this lap what the gap is, what the exam question's going to be over probably 3 more laps. So 2 3/4 minutes a lap, really. They need 5.5 minutes left on the clock for this to be the penultimate lap of the race. And that's good news for the chasers. It's less good news for passing the Thoras. Here is another look then at Prent's pass on Verbeek. Saw the gap, went for it. Great driving as well, actually, from Verbeek, not to shut the door when it must have been extraordinarily tempting to do so. 2.3 seconds is still the gap between passing the Thoras and Alvaro Prent. Cars hammer downhill, steadily worsening conditions. The rain has been falling relentlessly for the past 5 or so minutes. Not that you would know it from Alvaro Prent, the car dancing. So I'm sure his feet are on the pedals along the Camel Straight. Alvaro Prent moving right to the inside of the road just to make sure Raffaele Gianmaria gets absolutely no ideas of launching a move to the inside, then moves across, takes the line into Les Combes. Despite all that, Prent was a 1/10 of a second slower than Thoras through the first sector. But it's this middle sector on the lap where I think we're going to see whether or not it's possible for Alvaro Prent to overhaul the Ferrari, passing the Thoras as well. Shouldn't take anything away from the performance of the Thoras. Really impressive, this. It's the sort of drive that when the championship trophy gets handed out at Barcelona in November, may well be the one that he looks back on and says, that was the afternoon where we won the crown. Prent and Gianmaria fly in formation. Find out in probably another 20 seconds or so what the pace through the middle sector has been relative for Thoras and Prent. Visibly, it doesn't appear as if the McLaren has made an awful lot of ground on the AF Corse Ferrari of passing the Thoras. We will find out any second now when Thoras breaks the timing beam. It's 78.1 through that middle sector, 77.5 for Alvaro Prent, so he has made ground, and Alvaro Prent is up half a second on passing the Thoras for the lap. But don't forget, it was 2.3 seconds, and we have got just 2 laps remaining at the end of this one. And that is not going to be enough of a rate of capture for Alvaro Prent. So it's starting to look very good for passing the Thoras, provided he doesn't get caught out, particularly if any standing water begins to come down and form on the track through the bus stop chicane. Across the line for the Thoras, Prent 1.8 seconds his deficit, so he gains half a second on Lathoras. He needs 9/10 of a second over the next 2 laps to be able to be in a position to contest the lead on the last corner. So the order is Lathoras leads, Parent is second, third Raffaele Gianmaria, fourth is Tim Verbeek, fifth is Nicola Bonucci, sixth is James Abbott, seventh Anton Neplitsky, eighth Sally Uluk, ninth is Stefan Lemaire, and completing the top 10 at the moment is Philippe Barrieroth. Very, very difficult conditions now along the Kemmel Straight. The spray being kicked into the air and then hanging like a fine film of mist, hampering visibility for those not running at the front of their own train of cars. We've got just 2 minutes left on the clock. A lap and a half remains in the race. It has been a thrilling race, as is always the case here at Spa-Francorchamps, and the outcome is far from decided. The 3 leaders, the top 3 cars in the championship, are covered by just 2.6 seconds. We have got 10 kilometres of racing remaining, and absolutely anything could happen, because each and every time Passing Lathoras turns in, he's finding the track is significantly wetter, a lot more slippery than it was almost 3 minutes ago. Alvaro Parent, though, still very content to take big bites out of the curbs. He still clearly would feel that the win is on here. Kenny Rugolo just caught up with the tension of it a little bit, probably wishing that he was behind the wheel himself. There's nothing he can do other than just see what Thoras is doing out on track, mentally trying to drive the car for him, identifying any mistakes, any little corrections that he would like to make. Yeah, between Lathoras and Parent, midway through the lap, is just 1.6 seconds. It has been a very, very assured penultimate lap of the race, this, from Passing Lathoras. It's been a very assured drive, and one which is about to elevate Lathoras up into the very top tier of drivers, because he has handled very tricky conditions and 2 rapid cars trying to chase him down masterfully well, but he's got to do it still for another 7 kilometres. We head into the final lap of the race. Lathoras leads by 2.1 seconds from Alvaro Parent, who is still busy defending from Raffaele Gianmaria. He heads around La Source, down towards Eau Rouge for the final time. The clock has now ticked to 0. And this is beginning to start to look very, very good for Passing Lathoras. His lead over Alvaro Parent seeming to grow further still during the opening metres of this lap. Raffaele Gianmaria, again, they're in 3rd place. Parent and Gianmaria are old hands at this. They know that if they can't win the race, the points for 2nd and 3rd place, with just 5 races remaining at the checkered flag today, is going to keep them well and truly in the championship hunt. Despite this result, by my maths, it's not going to be quite enough to jump Lathoras and Rugolo into the lead of the championship. I think it will still be in favour of Parent and Ramos by just a point. Down out in the Bruxelles hairpin, on towards Pouhon, Passing Lathoras. Just a few thousand metres from home. It's been a fantastic performance from Lathoras. He really has mastered these incredibly treacherous conditions. And is this going to be another victory for he and Michele Rugolo? Be their 3rd of the year, rather their 2nd of the year. They won in Paul Ricard. Yes, it would be their 3rd of the year. They won in Paul Ricard. They won at the Red Bull Ring. And now are they going to make it 3 wins from 9 races? Rugolo readying himself for the celebration. Gianmaria has dropped well back from Alvaro Parent, but Parent is not close enough to challenge Lathoras, who accelerates out of Stavolo for the final time. He's just got a couple of corners remaining. And what has happened to Raffaele Gianmaria? Gianmaria going very, very slowly. And that is more than just a slight slide for Gianmaria. He could well be overhauled here by Tim Verbeek and Nicola Bonucci before we get to the checkered flag. Suddenly, late drama in the race, and it wasn't from the quarter we were expecting. Gianmaria is a long, long way back from the leading duo. It is of no concern to passing the Thoras and Michele Rugolo, because the Thoras heads out of the bus stop chicane for the final time and takes a magnificent victory in Spa-Francorchamps. Win number 3 for the Thoras and Rugolo. Second place to Alvaro Parent and Miguel Ramos. Now, who is going to take third? It's going to be the Aston Martin Brussels car of Tim Verbeek and Michael Schmetz. They jump Raffaele Gianmaria on the final lap. Gianmaria and Perez Compenac have to console themselves with 4th. And then in 5th, it is Nicola Bonucci and Alessandro Balzan. An excellent 6th place to James Abbott. And then Anton Neblitsky and Matthias Russo home in 7th. And here is a replay of Sally Yuluk. Oh no! Last lap for Yuluk. Does he get it stopped before he hits the tyre wall? Yes, he does. Modern runoff, very much the aid of Yuluk there. Into Parc Ferme, and time to celebrate for passing the Thoras and Michele Rugolo. Brilliant, brilliant drive that from the Thoras in very trying conditions. Well, if you had tuned in just 10 minutes into the race, it was looking like it was going to be an absolutely dominant win for Rob Bell and Andrew Watson in the Teo Martin Motorsport McLaren. That all went wrong when Watson went off at Eau Rouge. And once the safety car retreated, La Thoras did the job to the delight of the AF Corse team. Alvaro Parent, a very solid performance to finish in 2nd place. He and Miguel Ramos still emphatically in the championship hunt. Possibly a little bit of a post-mortem required for the Teo Martin Motorsport team. Even some of the shrugs of the shoulder going on. Thumbs up from passing the Thoras. The representative from Michelin, that wet weather tyre, serving him very well. And then for Raffaele Gianmaria, such disappointment late on, but it gives Tim Verbeek and Michael Schmetz a very well-deserved and popular home podium. Cup winner was James Abbott, and GTOpen winner Sally Yuluk and Ewan Hankey. Still cars coming to the flag. This then is the final classification then. Passing the Thoras and Michele Rugolo, winning it from Miguel Ramos and Alvaro Parent. 3rd place for Tim Verbeek and Michael Schmetz. 4th, Ezequiel Perez Compenac and Raffaele Gianmaria. 5th, Alessandro Balzan and Nicola Bonucci. An excellent 6th for James Abbott, clear of Anton Neblitsky and Matthias Russo. Then Ewan Hankey and Sally Yuluk in 8th, clear of Felipe Barrieros, Claudio Sazanovic and Stefan Lemarais, completing the top 10. Rob Bell set the fastest lap of the race, but after that big incident for Andrew Watson at Eau Rouge, unfortunately it all came to naught. So there we see, I think the championship has moved on from there. That was the standings at the start of the day. Well, we have got more to look forward to tomorrow. The second race of the weekend gets underway at 1400 local time. But 1 o'clock in the UK. Great win for passing the Thoras and Michele Rugolo. Very difficult conditions. 2nd place for Parent and Ramos. Tim Verbeek and Michael Schmetz completing the podium.
Passing La Thoras, Michele Rugolo, a great win in very difficult conditions, and passing an end of the race really special. Huh?
Yes, it is. Thank you to the team. We did a really superb job with the tires for the second set that we changed to the rain. The team was always also in the previous race in the Spa 24. The pit stops of the Forza team is just superb. Everybody's just running like clockwork. And yes, well, thank you to Michele for keeping the car safe at the start, and he helped this weekend set up the car really well. The car was really easy to drive, and yes, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, job well done, which started with pole position for Michele Rugolo, and now a championship, I think, back on the lead.
Yeah, it's the same story every time. I mean, with the handicap game, we finish in first position of the first race, and then I hope we are able to keep the same spot even after tomorrow night. Let's see. But was a very so far is a very good weekend. As he said, the setup of the car is fantastic. In dry condition was special, and even in wet apparently, he did a great job. A lot of suspense every time he's in the car. I'm really scared because he has very good drivers behind him, but he's able to do a great performance, keeping them behind. So very nice.
Well done, guys, because really tough today. Podium now. Thank you. All the best.
Let's take a look back then at the highlights of the race. And off the line, it was Rob Bell who got the jump on Michele Rugolo as they surged towards that source the first time behind. It got very close between Miguel Ramos and Ewan Hankey. In the early stages, Alessandro Balzan moved up into third place. Thereafter suffered some issues. Meanwhile, a great move from Ewan Hankey to eventually demote Ezequiel Perez-Compenac after they raced lap upon lap. It's a slightly shorter day for Rafael Unzarazaga. Quick spin into the tyres for him. And then strangely, the pace seemed to go away from Balzan and he was repassed by Michael Schmetz. Post pit stops, the rain started coming down and Andrew Watson was the first to arrive on the scene at Eau Rouge. The car snapping away and he crunches into the tyre wall at Radion. That prompted a safety car which bunched up the field and then gave us some great racing. Tim Verbeek defended and led for the first couple of laps once we got going, but then passing the Thoras was able to find a way through. A few moments later, Alvaro Parent also made a gap where really there was none. And then Rafael Gianmaria, the next turn, was able to sneak up into third place. Parent and then Gianmaria tried to close in on passing the Thoras at the head of the field, but they couldn't do it, and so for the Thoras and Michele Rugolo, it was a third victory of the international GTOpen season, one that puts them right into the sharp end in the title race. But Alvaro Parent and Miguel Ramos more points and another podium. The rostrum completed by Tim Verbeek and Michael Schmetz after they overhauled Gianmaria and Perez-Compenac on the final lap. Delight for the Thoras and Michele Rugolo. Delighted Felipe Barrieros as well, who is going to be up to receive his Drivers' Trophy. There is the Provisional Drivers' Championship. Parent and Ramos just a point clear at the top of the standings, but there really is still everything to race for. So first of all, up into third place for Michael Schmetz and Tim Verbeek. Very popular home podium. Runners-up, Alvaro Parent and Miguel Ramos. More podiums for the Teo Martin Motorsport team. And then our race winners, passing the Thoras and Michele Rugolo. Once more, victorious in the International GTOpen in 2015, as are AF Corse. Italian national anthem in honour of AF Corse as we move on to the presentation of the trophies. So for Tim Verbeek and Michael Schmetz in third, runners-up, Parent and Miguel Ramos. And our winning drivers, Thoras and Rugolo. Our winning team, AF Corse. So the work of the weekend is only half done. The second race from Spa gets underway tomorrow at 2 o'clock local time, 1 o'clock if you're joining us from the UK. But for now, the champagne flies on the rostrum in Spa. It's time for myself, Ben Evans, to say thank you very much for your company this afternoon. It's been a wonderful race, and we hope for more as the championship fight continues in the International GT Open.